Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we're hearing the Utah Jazz are interested potentially in a man by the name of, yes, big boy Brandon Ingram could see himself going to Utah. I want to hear your guys' thoughts before we continue today's video. This is coming from Christian Clark of NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. I'm going to butcher it, but like you guys know what I mean. Either way, let's discuss what we're specifically hearing and what would this trade look like if it were to come into reality. Now, I personally believe that Brandon Ingram at this point is going to remain a Pelican, as I don't think you're going to be able to get the return on your investment. Whatever the Pelicans trade him for, you're not going to get someone as good as him. And I'm not sitting here and being like, oh, Brandon Ingram is a generational talent. No, he's a guy who, at his best, plays 54 to 60 games a year. He has the ability to be an all-star. At his very best, he's probably a fringe third all-NBA team, but he's more of an all-star. He did a good job of leading this team through the Zion years when Zion was not healthy, but I think Zion got his act together this year, and I don't think that's going to be an issue moving forward. So, and they don't want to give him the money that he wants. I think going to a team like Utah, pairing him up with Lowry is going, for the Utah, they see it as like, okay, this is probably one of the best guys we can realistically maybe get. Utah, in the sense, might have to overpay for Brandon Ingram because the Pelicans are reluctant to give him up, because the Pelicans know giving up Brandon Ingram, unless it's a really good offer, is a downgrade for most of the trades out there. So when I look at this, I think, all right, how do we approach this? So we're going to go ahead and go to our favorite thing, fan. So Brandon Ingram wants an extension, and if he gets traded to the Jazz, your assumption is he's going to get that said extension. Now, how do we move forward with a guy like Brandon, who, yeah, maybe he might not be the most, what's a nice way to put this? He's not super sought after, and obviously his contract doesn't help, but to me, what I think you see right here is the potential to give the Pelicans something that they need. When you look at the Pelicans, I think the center position, and they got DeJounte Murray and they have Jose Alvarado. You could say I think I like their wings, but the power forward and shooting guard position are two positions that you could say they'd have interest fixing. So you'd assume that two players that would have to be in the deal is Walker Kessler and Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson is salary filler that the Jazz want to get off. Walker Kessler as a center that interests the Pelicans. Now, there's $19 million still needed to be worked with. I think that is where it becomes, they don't have to straight up match it. And even if someone goes like, what about if they threw John Collins in there? I feel like at that point, the Pelicans would have to give up salary filler to do that trade, and it becomes hard for me to imagine. Like, I'm just going to show you the first deal that I think could be realistic, and at this point, I just don't see anybody else that they would put in this deal to make it happen, to facilitate it. Do you throw in Brees? I just don't see Brees being somebody that the Pelicans would necessarily want. That's why I don't know why I'm looking at Clarkson. But let's just throw in Minnesota's first next year, and we'll do the Jazz's lottery protected 26 pick. And hypothetically, they could do this deal. This is probably the most realistic version of this deal because they have salary cap space. You send out Brandon Ingram for 2 first-round picks, Walker Kessler, and Jordan Clarkson. Maybe that's an overvalue. What do you guys think? I just think this gives them a six man that the Pelicans need. And then you look at this. Walker Kessler is the starting center that they need, and they get themselves Minnesota's pick next year, which is going to be a late first, and then a lottery protected Utah Jazz pick. I think in that sense, everybody works out. This improves the Pelicans defensively. Jazz get a star player next to Lowry. Now, the trade that intrigues me is, what if we send John Collins? We send him one pick. And I guess in this deal, Jeremiah Robinson, and we'll throw in Matt Ryan as the two salary fillers. And I want to know if this is possible. It is. Now, the problem here is, one might say, Pelicans win this deal tremendously. Maybe take out the first. But the reasoning I bring this up, Pelicans are, yes, taking on $40.7 million. And they're technically, in a weird way, so they're sending out $40.2 million, and they're taking back, from what I see, $3.2 million extra. And at the end of the day, if they were able to do a deal like this where they could get themselves both Kessler, Collins, or all three of those guys, I think the only problem now, if you do this deal, you're $2.3 million over the tax. So it's really, you become a first apron team if you're the Pelicans, which I don't think they want. So you're thinking, all right, could they get themselves out of this? Hypothetically, yes. The way they would do that, you would bring in a third team. This would have to involve Jordan Hawkins being dumped. So the assumption is, let's say you call up a team like the Cavaliers, just because there's a connection between the Cleveland front office and here. And you call up the Cavs and you say, they're never going to do this. I want you guys to know this would never happen, but this is just, we're talking salary wise, like if they really wanted to get this deal done. So the Cavs would get themselves Jordan Hawkins, and I forgot over here. We don't need, you can just, this would be, let's say if they did not re-sign Isaac Okoro. And they were like, oh, we need to replace Isaac Okoro. So what we'll do is we'll help out the Pelicans. And the Pelicans trade Jordan Hawkins. And maybe they get themselves, they don't give up a pick. And they convince the Cavs to give up a pick, maybe. I just feel like maybe not. Or maybe they convince them to give up a bunch of seconds. Again, this is a very crapshoot, but this would just be a deal you would see just for salary reasons. So you basically, what you do now is, now the Pelicans, by trading Jordan Hawkins for Sam Merrill, they get themselves $28,000 under the salary cap. Under the luxury tax, which means they are not an apron team. So they could do this massive deal, take on these three contracts from the Jazz. They would just have to basically churn. If they were looking at Jordan Hawkins is way better than Sam Merrill because he can actually facilitate and dribble. But if you were just like, look, Hawkins was just going to be a three-point shooter and we didn't have time to wait for him to develop and we're fine giving up Hawkins to facilitate this deal, replace him with Sam Merrill, who's on a cheaper deal. We don't have to give up any picks because we have the Cavs give up the picks. And right here, obviously, like I said, you walk away and that would just make it so that the Pelicans are under the luxury tax. And so is, I think even in this deal, the Pelicans are able, the Pelicans are able to be under the luxury tax, and so are the Cavs. And the crazy thing is the Cavs can still go ahead and, if they wanted to, in this, re-sign Okoro to, from my understanding is they would like this to be like under $10 million. And I've said, if you do this and give him like a bump each year, you can make this deal work. And yeah, so they can re-sign Okoro to a 3-year, $38 million deal and still get this deal done. And they would also be under the luxury tax. You have to remember, you got to get these deals under the luxury tax. But yeah, again, I personally would not like, I think the first deal that we talked about was realistic. This was more our, yeah. Let me know your thoughts. That's basically it.